Hello, welcome to the Raptors Weekly Extra podcast for Friday, February 5th. I can't believe it's February already. That means the Super Bowl is on Sunday. I'm heading out to the grocery store right after this to get all the ingredients for my Super Bowl chili, which I have high expectations for, and I'm going to just dump a bunch of beer in, which I haven't tried making it before. I'm joined by William Liu, who is probably not making something for the Super Bowl on Sunday because I imagine you're working, in which case free food.
Yes, I am working that day, although covering the NBA desk during the Super Bowl is pretty easy. There's no NBA games on. You get to just watch the Super Bowl. It's a fun time. And then, the day after, I'm going to be celebrating Chinese/Lunar New Year. So it'll be great. Great time.
With the Super Bowl here, shout out to our boy Arun on that NFL beat, on that NFL coverage, and that Sportsfeld podcast appearance. Big
apparently he's doing it today.
Arun. Yeah. Good for him. Shout out to Arun. Shout out to Zoobs and Goldsby too. I doubt they listen to this, but Sportsfeld is awesome. And if you need a general Toronto sports and life podcast to listen to, there you go.
And then if you also find yourself craving more of that same Toronto and sports content, check out The Defeated with me and Arun.
Yeah, I figured you'd plug it there. When was that? You guys haven't had one in a little bit, have you?
Yeah, sneak peek. We're recording on Friday night with the boy Harsh.
Nice. Are you recording while inebriated?
We'll see. Usually there's at least like one or two beers and that happens.
Just one or two, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, multiple podcasts aren't for everyone. If Raptors Republic is the only place that you get your podcasts from, or if not, and you like the content we're producing, we set up a Patreon page to, allow people to help contribute to the site. If that's something you're interested in doing, you can go to patreon.com/RaptorsRepublic. Any contribution at all is greatly appreciated. We'll give you a shout out on the podcast. I answer every mailbag question anyway, but it guarantees you get your mailbag questions answered, which, by the way, we have a mailbag coming on Saturday, so get me your questions with #RRMailbag, preferably by Friday, so I don't have to get up too early Saturday to do that. We do have some people who have contributed already past the threshold at which they get a podcast shout out. So, thank you very much to Tom Liston, who is awesome, former data analysis basketball writer and a really, really smart dude. Julian F., Mercedes Mueller, Sam, who is Raps fan, contributing to his own site, which is funny. And Will, you were supposed to get a shout out here, but I got to take it away. I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, apparently I do not have $20 in my bank account, so this is a problem.
So if you're wondering why you should contribute beyond just liking our content and all the effort that we put in, all the time that we put in, someone formerly of the site who appears on the podcast doesn't have a 20-piece.
Please, guys.
And your host might not have a 20-piece either. I don't know. I haven't looked at my wallet in a couple days. This chili recipe is expensive, so we'll see.
Yeah, man. It's a rough start to the pod. Let's talk some Raptors basketball.
Yeah, let's talk more optimism. Let's talk the Raptors not going all in, but let's push some chips to the middle of the table. Will, you wrote something on your own blog the other day, WilliamLiuNBA.blogspot.com, is that what it is? Or .wordpress.com?
Yeah, just don't follow the URL. Just follow me on Twitter, and I'll tweet out my links.
At William_Liu. I'm at Blake Murphy ODC, and we're at Raptors Republic, obviously. So you wrote a piece suggesting the Raptors make a win-now move. I won't explain it for you. It's linked within the podcast post, but give us a brief rundown of why you think the Raptors should really be pushing their chips to the middle of the table and, what that might look like.
Well, first of all, you have to take into account where the Raptors are right now, right? So they're a good team. They're one of just 5 teams that's top 10 offense and defense. And you have 2 players right now who are in their prime in DeMarre DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. And seeing them both on the All-Star team, that's great, right? The problem is there are still significant problems with the roster. And I think that some of those things will become more evident during the playoffs. So 2 of those issues. One, right now, it seems like the Raptors cannot win with Lowry and DeRozan playing low minutes. And right now they're 5th and 6th respectively in minutes played. That's going to take a toll on these guys.
Dwayne Casey's going to trim those, he said Wednesday, though. especially
So he
for
agrees.
Lowry. Yeah.
So he agrees, and he should, honestly, like, that's the sensible thing to do.
And to be clear,
you're gonna overwork these players.
I don't think it's necessarily an issue that the Raptors can't win without them come playoff time, because rotations shorten and you're going to play those guys 40, 42 minutes in the playoffs anyway. It's that, are they going to get to the playoffs at 100% at this rate?
So, I mean, you can already see what happened last season when Lowry got injured. He got overworked, and in the playoffs, like, he was like a complete no-show. Now, granted, we've talked about this so many times, but he has reshaped his body. By all accounts, he looks much better. And there wasn't a period this year, like last year, where DeRozan went down and Lowry had to overexert himself, not just necessarily playing more minutes, but also how impactful those minutes were and how stressful those were.
Yeah, higher usage rate this year, but the defensive ease of his role with the presence of Corey Joseph and DeRozan being there, I would argue that even with the higher usage, his workload has been less toll-taking.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's just if the Raptors could get someone like a third scorer to sort of complement these players, so we'll talk about it in a second, but like someone like Markieff Morris theoretically could sort of support a bench unit that allows both Lowry and DeRozan to rest, and also that would become useful in the playoffs when I'm very concerned with the way basically teams have beaten the Raptors in the playoffs in the last 2 years is they have people trap the ball, which makes a lot of sense when you consider that the offense is so heavily skewed towards two ball handlers that are sort of small-ish. Now, granted, both, again, Lowry and DeRozan have improved this year, but that's still going to be a thing. They're still going to try to do that. And the problem is when they trap the ball, you got to swing it to somebody immediately. And so at the top of the key-ish area, that's usually a big. But the thing is, right now, none of the Raptors' bigs are capable enough or dangerous enough or consistent enough to consistently punish that sort of scheme. And I'm worried about that. So that's why someone like Markieff Morris or Ryan Anderson makes a lot of sense for me. Again, we'll talk about those guys in a second.
Okay, so I think everyone gets the idea of where this team could improve, why they maybe need to improve to get to, say, the Eastern Conference Finals, which might be a realistic goal now with how the East is shaping up. In terms of putting your chips in the middle of the table, there are two pretty good arguments for that, which you touch on, and which they're points that I've made before too. One is that the Raptors' biggest assets in a trade are surplus picks in the next 2 years. They own the worst pick of the Nuggets and Knicks this coming year. They own the Clippers in 2017, lottery protected, and they own both of their own first round picks. With 5 roster spots already used on prospects, it's very, very unlikely that they're going to use all those picks anyway. So they have these valuable assets that they can throw in that have more value possibly to another team than they do to the Raptors. Additionally, this is kind of the live for today because tomorrow's not promised point. Kyle Lowry is not exactly young for a small point guard, and even with DeMarre DeRozan only 26 years old and about to sign potentially a 5-year deal, the window for this team to compete at the level of, say, a conference final isn't necessarily that wide.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's not like the Cavaliers are struggling. Like, it seems like they've really picked it up under Tyronn Lue. Their offense has gotten much better, even though they're playing the same pace. But I mean, right now, this is a good time to, attack the Cavaliers too. Like, this is about as weak as they'll get unless LeBron really falls off a cliff.
Honestly, though, forget the Cavaliers for a second. This team has never made the conference finals
exactly
before. I know that everyone's goal is to win an NBA championship. I don't think that that's realistic in the next couple of years for the Raptors without some luck. It could happen. LeBron gets hurt in the playoffs or whatever, and Golden State and San Antonio beat the living hell out of each other. There are scenarios, but I think in terms of goal setting, you look at the Eastern Conference Finals, that's a place the franchise has never been before, and if you could put yourself in the mix for that kind of a playoff positioning for the next 2-3 years, then I think that's reasonable. People will scoff, oh, we're not going to win a title that way. Well, you know what? This team for 21 years hasn't done anything, period. If you can put yourself in the mix as a conference finals team, then that's a worthwhile end goal.
Yeah, for sure. I think, honestly, people should recalibrate their expectations just a little bit, take a step back. It's too reductive to say that the NBA championship can only be won by teams with the best players. But, I mean, just look at the history of it. The Raptors don't have this kind of top-tier talent. It's a very good team, but, and Lowry DeRozan are very good players, but they're not, elite top 5 talent. Even this year, I would say Lowry's performed like a top 10 player, but is he objectively a top 10 player? It's hard to say, and quite frankly, it's he's probably not. So yeah, I think honestly, the end goal is always a championship, but like you got to be realistic with it, right? And if you look at this core, I mean, it's not necessarily that was purposed this way, right? I mean, everyone knows like 2 years ago, Masai Ujiri was going to try to tear down the team, and honestly, Lowry was almost out the door for Iman Shumpert in a first-round draft pick that would have came in 2018. So, I mean, this all kind of just came together, and it's been a great ride. And I think now that we're here, it's not necessarily the way things were intended to be, but it's been a pretty fun surprise for it to happen. And I think that the Raptors are in a great spot right now where they can make a true difference. Like this is the best Raptors team of all time. There's a lot of tradable assets, like you said, that the Raptors may or may not be able to fully maximize on their own. So you might as well trade them for some players, who can help the team now and maybe even help the team going down the line. Because another thing, that's important with the trade deadline is the Raptors don't project to have a lot of cap space this summer. So if you don't make an improvement this summer or during the trade deadline, then it's going to be very hard pressed to get a significant guy in the summer unless there's some trades that happens, which is, still possible. But if you trade for a guy now, you get his draft rights, or sorry, not draft rights, his bird rights. As we've discussed with someone like Nicholas Batum, it'll be easier for the Raptors to just, go over the cap, re-sign this guy, and then you could sort of build for now. So even some current rentals are okay. That's an important point.
So I've mentioned a couple times about bird rights, and a couple people don't seem to grasp why bird rights are valuable. It's not just a matter of being able to offer a max player a little